We'll see if that's the case. Vetu versus Hacterox, and I think it's interesting to consider when we're looking at the deck submission from North America and how prominent Control Blood is. I wonder if even taking decks, we saw how little Mid Shadow did against the Control Blood list earlier on today. I wonder if it's even dangerous for these players to go out with these decks that they have submitted, but you know, maybe a question for another time. So we'll see how this plays out.
It's an interesting question to think about, but like you said, hard to talk about at the moment. We should jump into the game. Mofu, Dragon versus Burn Dirt Rune, even with Mutagenic Bolt.
Yeah, I agree.
It's not even a question.
No, I agree with that statement.
You're right.
Right.
That was the question. You're right. Thank you, Mofu.
I feel like in this situation, and I've seen this sort of matchup happen over and over, it's like, while I tend to kind of call everything a wild card for Burn Dirt, I feel like this is one of the better sides for them. It's just like, I'm thinking Burn Dirt is the kind of deck where you can very quickly see throughout how it plays whether it's going to win or lose the game. Because while you can kind of track all of its tools and pieces, and the only time it really has like a strong sense of unpredictability is with Oz, if it's acquired a huge life advantage and doesn't die to something like Bahamut out of nowhere that just clears everything in a Genesis Dragon, then most of the time it's just going to have what it needs to win.
Right. That is true. And V2 is playing, just double check here before I say what V2's playing. He doesn't actually have the Gen Dragon stuff. He has like a weirder kind of list, actually. He has Saha Israfil with Polyphonic Roars and a 1 of Zeus. So he's
yeah, it's a very
correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think we usually see Polyphonic Roar in the Saha decks, and they usually play Lucifer. I think that's how those usually go, so.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I feel like sometimes I see Polyphonic Roar tech even in like Dreadsea decks, because you can get some weird non-linear combos with it, like clear the entire board with a Bahamut, and then for your class card you chose Polyphonic Roar to play after that, and that can be very difficult to come back from. But you're right, I've never seen it in the neutral ramp package, which surprises me, because the neutral ramp package is more adept at lasting for long games, because it just has access to more healing in its win conditions.
Exactly. And we already see Ramp Dragon kind of doing its thing. Hacterox had a really cool 4 play point turn. He played Halo Golem, and that was cute. V2's gonna use 7 now on his turn. Put a Bahamut on the board for a turn.
Yeah, as I observed earlier, I feel like this is one of the worst situations for Dirtburn in this matchup, because especially being on the draw, it's like the cards and tools that Ramp Dragon has access to become stronger and stronger at taking the board and shoving damage off for each interval of play points, that if they both have the 1-up on you from being on the play, and they draw a significant amount of ramp, then even like the best case scenario for any very consistent deck just still ends up being taking it from the deck.
Exactly, and this is also just not only going second, being on the draw. It's also a game where Magic Illusionist didn't really get to do anything, and you know, a card that we've kind of pedestaled up as being like so pivotal of, you know, why Dirt Rune is so strong. It kind of sucks that it can't do anything.
Yeah, this is probably the worst matchup for it to find any value in. As we saw before, no matter how many sigils you have on the board, it just falls over to Bahamut.
Dance of Death on a sock wheel after you've been shown Bahamut is a bit interesting.
He does have an alternate option with Mutagenic Bolt that will come down in time for it, but at the moment I feel that when you're in this scenario, whereas Burn Dirt, you're already kind of having to think about your burn tools as removal or answers to things. That's already when the deck has kind of been overcome.
Double Carl not really establishing too much damage, and I mean, V2 is already on 10. He's on 10 play points right now, so.
All must come to an end.
I mean, that is will if he wills it. You can just simply play Bahamut and say, hey, you don't have Earth Sigils anymore. That's it. I'm done with this.
Good. Mutagenic Bolt, though, like you mentioned, would definitely happen.
Mm-hmm. At the very least, I agree with playing one of these Bahamuts before trying to go for the Polyphonic Roar for pretty crystal clear reasons.
Right, yeah, obviously. Playing Bahamut after Polyphonic Roar is kind of a non-combo, a non-bow, as we call those.
Yeah, you become your own opponent in that scenario.
Okay, alright. Well, it looks like we're committing to not playing Polyphonic Roar.
Yeah. The Bahamut's very strong here, even though there is a fine amount of answers that act.
There's no Earth Sigil. Man, that would have been so good if there was an Earth Sigil. Oh my gosh.
It's like my favorite answer to Bahamut as well.
Yeah. And there's one, of course. Right on time.
Could have been played with it if it was one card sooner, but you know, Mutagenic Bolt in here, and if Oz is felled this turn, then she doesn't discard anything from Hacterox's hand after that.
I don't think Vetu's gonna commit to Roar here. I think he probably appreciates Bahamut and how powerful it is.
Right.
If you land Bahamut here, you do pop Oz, you banish all spells.
He's
gonna
putting
trade
clothes
this.
on the flame res.
He's gonna trade. Blazing
No
Breath,
way.
Polyphonic. Yeah.
Oh.
Much more boring play, but I think I like that one. So now you can't Bahamut anymore, but you do kind of set up, you know, this infinite value engine. Ooh, when there was a bolt there to punish the Bahamut.
Right. Very strong play, even though when I see a Flame Rat get evolved, I want it to be a part of the play that, you know, protects the Flame Rat. Because he looks so cool when he's evolved. You never see that happen. Really strong.
He's also one of
events for
the
him.
rare sets of cards that puts on more clothes when it evolves.
Among
Not
him,
many cards
among
do that.
Alucard.
Yeah. Hacterox is gonna just dump his hand at his trying to make value to this Oz. He's gonna have to get any damage done. So
He has a pretty solid follow-up to it. It's just, as I mentioned before, it's like the one describably fair thing about Burn Dirt is that even though it has way more damage than any deck could possibly need from effects in one deck, it comes out in such short bursts that at this life disadvantage, with V2 still at 16 defense, even if he just draws perfect cards off of the Oz into another Oz, that's still not going to seal the game. He needs so much more than that.
Man, this is tough for Hacterox. I think he's talking it over with himself right now. He's probably, you know, ordering Taco Bell on the phone and wondering, you know, also at the same time, how do I get out of this game, right? I don't think a Nacho Supreme is gonna help me get out of this, but
Ooh,
Twin Guardian's actually
that-
really cool with Oz.
Yeah, the double toppings might.
I like that he drew.
Did I really
that.
just say double toppings in a taco order? Okay.
Yeah, you did.
I'm just gonna ignore you when you make jokes at this point. Okay. Tosses the spells out. Unfortunately, this plays pretty hard into a huge number of options on being relevant to the game and talking only about the game now.
Oh my gosh, Grimner though. Such a good. When's the last time we saw a good Grimner? I haven't seen a good Grimner in forever.
It feels like the stat lines of so many cards have just inflated to the point that Grimnir isn't a perfect answer anymore. And there's so many
Right.
stronger win conditions now than there used to be that, like, Grimnir not dealing face damage and setting up your other win conditions just annihilates his usefulness. But yeah, that situation right there, it's like Twin Guardians, what was that supposed to do? Stop aggro?
That was really good. Like, Twin Guardians is a spell that can, like, look really, really powerful when you put it, like, off of Oz. Like, if it costs one play point, like, this thing is broken. What the heck? Right?
Right.
But, you know, it looks really bad when it gets Grimnered.
Mm-hmm.
And so does this
There's
board,
always-
actually. This board also looks terrible getting Grimnered.
Right, I mean, it is not really Burn Dirt's forte to be able to get a lot of followers on board that can kind of contest removal or things like that. It just wants to throw them away for damage. But as you can see, doesn't happen this game, and we get another classic North America BM sort of. Cool.
What's that BM, though? He just wanted to show him that he had, you know, I think BM would have been, like, attacking one of the followers and saying oops, and then attacking a follower again, and then saying hello, and then doing it, right? Like,
All right,
I
that
don't
would have
know.
been much more soul crushing to inflict.
And if V2's watching and meant to BM, then step up your game, my dude. That could have been much more BM-ish.
And only up until seeing this loading screen have I not realized how pretty of a man Spectral Wizard is.
It's okay. Owl replaced him, and Owl is adorable. So
Yeah, and Owl's in with rotations. He'll be here a while.
that's right. Yeah, Spectral Wizard leaves. He's a standard set. So
It's been like fully functionally replaced. Like,
Yep,
Owl showed him
exactly.
up in the actual game, and then post rotations he leaves first. I salute him.
Friendship
Mm,
ended with
wonderful.
Spectral Wizard. Friendship started with Owl.
You're best friends with Magic Owl. That's effectively Rune. I see it in like every list sub burn.
It's a very good. It's weird too, because like that's the only one playing Levi anymore. It's just kind of, kind of convenient. We actually see Hacterox getting a little curve this turn, this game. So he didn't get to go first, but he has Sigil into Illusionist. That's pretty strong.
Right. We'll create a decision arc for Vetu on whether or not he wants to commit the zombie party to clear it, or if it's right to just kind of ignore it here.
I think you should probably commit Zombie Party to. That was interesting, not popping the second telescope. I guess probably keeping it in case you want to use the Apprentice Alchemist. Ooh, never mind. 3-1 face.
Yep, probably figures. I went first, and I have a pretty strong curve I'm looking at here. I'm just gonna go face, and anything that Hacterox does reactively to that is probably not going to afford him enough tempo to justify trading. Probably what he's thinking.
He does have access to Levi though, so that is a pretty powerful option. And playing those backwards, not using that to get the ward, I actually like that a little bit better. You get to Halo Golem next turn if you want to, so.
And once again challenges V2 to say, hey, I have pretty strong plays. I got something better than an Apprentice Alchemist in case you feel like trading yet. I think Hacterox knows if V2 starts trading, he starts losing the matchup in the one way that Rune would really like him to.
V2 might just double down on this. Okay, he's gonna trade a little bit. I thought he was gonna double down on the setup and just spam Bone Chimeras and go face.
Yeah, he probably saw like his hand's not going anywhere quickly. He dumps out another 2 cards. He's low on resources, as being on the play can often do to someone, and he hasn't really afforded that much damage over value in the meanwhile.
It's just like back in the old days.
Be interesting to see if Dwarf Alchemist comes down. Okay, I like that. I like that a lot. Getting access to that Earth Sigil instead of popping the Fireball. Just wasting the Fireball here doesn't really make much sense, so Dwarf Alchemist was actually a pretty good draw.
Yeah, at this point Hacterox has a lot of very easy to use resources in this hand. Very easy to dump them out in prior to using Oz. It's just a very clean game for him thus far. Alright.
The
V2.
third Bone Chimera, oh boy.
Very difficult to deal with. I've noticed something. It's like I feel like we've watched. I felt my tongue saying Dernbert, Burnzert, quite a few times.
Yeah.
But we have I feel like I just haven't seen Master Mage Levi that much today. Because this is a pretty good scenario to have soon.
It's almost like Side Games was like, this card's really good. We're gonna make sure that no one draws it all day. It's a conspiracy, clearly.
Gotta get him in the bottom 3 every game. Hacterox looks like he's in a pretty okay spot. It's just a matter of whether or not Gay stoops down and slows for a second to trade.
Another Alchemist coming down without the activation. Magical Illusionist, I think we've seen these 2 games have been a pretty good example of how ridiculously powerful this card can be on the play versus on the draw. Because on the draw it hasn't done anything these 2 games.
A kind of similar thing is back when Prince Catacomb used to cost 3. I remember the hugest deal that Prince Catacomb ever made was being on the play. It's like, I think the developer of I actually mentioned this a bit earlier, or a while earlier, but the developer of Shadowverse kind of mentioned that the evolution mechanic is like sort of the whole depth of the game. It allows the games to not really be decided so much by who goes first or who goes second. It's supposed to be a comeback mechanic. But when there's things that are sticky, things that don't really fall over to evolve as a mechanic because they spawn things as they die or otherwise, that's where it kind of comes into this card is very, very strong being on the play, or much, much less impressive otherwise.
I agree completely. Evolves can kind of lose their punch when Illusionist is impossible to get rid of.
Well, we've finally gotten to that point, and you know, things don't look bad for Hacterox whatsoever. Still has an Oz coming up. Lack of sigils, but Oz could fix this herself.
Yeah, things don't look good for Hacterox either, though. V2's going into a 7 play point turn. He's still very healthy, and he's got double Thane and Aether as options, so...
My fictions will save you.
Perhaps this could once again come down to just simply never having a life advantage being the end of it.
Yeah, I think Aether's actually just incredible this turn. Assuming this goes face for 5, yeah. Oh yeah.
Very punishable.
But I mean, you have to play punishably. You have to play, you know, risky, right? Because you have to win. Your deck burns, right? You're a burn deck, so.
Yeah. I had totally kind of chalked this up and all these matchups up to a very easy win for Burn Dirt. But it's just like every time I see games like this, it changes my mind a bit. It's not just a matter of variance, but just kind of a lot of other decks have this sort of inevitability of I slam Ictors and I slam Immortal Thanes, and this alone is going to apply so much pressure I should win. On the side of Hacterox, it's like maybe Master Mage Levi comes close to doing the same thing. It has the same general role, but how the deck kind of functions without it looks so much more tough than how Mid Shadow can sort of manage on its own up until it hits 7.
That is definitely true. And I mean, there are a lot of cards that are really important in this matchup, and I think Hacterox would almost always want to go first. Ooh, that's going to probably end up biting him, but he had to do it, I think. Maybe he would have died for sure. Not seeing Master Mage Levi at all halfway through his deck is really, really important.
Right. Funnily enough, if he hadn't thrown that burn to clear, he was dead to a flat Deathly Tyrant.
Love the flat Deathly Tyrant.
Yeah, this scenario seems to have really just kind of turned in V2's favor. I feel like a combination of no Master Mage Levi and Oz not really picking anything up is like, even though you have strong tools like Halo Golem, really, how does Hacterox continue on? I absolutely, like, both of us predicted it was going to probably be some combination of his list that got through, but V2 took care of this really, really handily. Didn't even make it seem that difficult.
These are two of the strongest, most consistent decks at the moment going at it, so it's not like, you know, one of these always beats the other. It's just that one of them sometimes has a better matchup. Ooh, I like the Tyrant play here, actually. You could have gone for Demon Eater there. Played Ceres out.
Yeah, I love this play because it sets up the sickest Thane lethal.
Yeah, the most metal lethal. Thane into Demon Eater on Thane.
Even just use it on the white and it works out. Knows he can get this damage and it's cool because like this is a risk V2 knows he can take. It's like 7 damage, where's that gonna come from? Oz into triple Dance of Death, still gonna be one off.
This is just a really unfortunate. Hacterox has just he's gone second twice. He's not gotten a single good Oz, I don't think. Like, not amazing. He got one good Oz, I think. One. But it wasn't too pivotal, right? He hasn't had any Master Mage Levi's. He's,
How do you do?
He's queued with one of the best decks in the game and just then, you know, gotten bad hands twice. Unfortunately.
Alright. Just nothing really continues to answer this for him. Well, at the very least, I think Care Package would be happy about this because this does, I think, kind of settle the score in a way that makes it good enough for him to
He's
qualify.
gonna die
I
to the
think.
card we previewed. Oh boy.
Ah,
He's. Oh, never mind. V2's gonna. Okay, never mind. Rip.
Finally, a time for Lurching Corpse to be useful. Oh, he does use it on the light.
Yep.
That's like
Looks like
V2 has this tiny little BMs he throws in there. But yeah,
Little
it's
itty
a
bitty.
2-0.
Yeah.
2-0 for Vetu means that that's kind of the best case scenario for Care Package after taking a loss, because that's kind of the worst loss that Hacterox can take. And I do believe you are correct. I mean, that's going to mean that the win rate for Care Package puts them into the regional finals. The only thing that we have to check is for Piao's score line, I believe.